All right, here we go. Now I know why Boiler Dad does the awkward the jingle, because I'm not sure if I'm live or not. But we're gonna see. We're gonna find out. Hi everyone, it's me. This is my version of the Boiler Dad jingle. It's not as good. It's me. It's diet. It's fine. It's a new look. We're feeling okay, and we'll give everybody a few seconds to join. That's right. It's a new look. How is everyone? I hope everyone's doing okay. Uh, this is the first, just like a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, when the Handsome Guys did their first podcast without me in several years. This is the first time I'm doing a solo kind of reaction podcast like this. And so, you guys in the comments will definitely have to carry me a little bit because I'm going to need some interaction here because there's not much to talk about. It's definitely going to be under an hour because I can't monologue like Boiler Dad does, and there's a lot less to talk about because what is there to talk about really with Purdue football? Maybe if you kept me here for Purdue basketball, I could uh, monologue a lot more. And so maybe some of the comments can be about Purdue basketball. Also, what your favorite hobbies are on Saturdays when Purdue football makes you sad. What do you do instead? I know J Money is in his best flannels. I'm sure he's wearing a layer of Carhartt, potentially one of those Duluth underwears, but also the pants because he's outside chopping wood like a man. Meanwhile, us idiots, we're sitting on the couch in front of the TV watching Purdue lose at Ohio State 45-0. If you've been listening to the Handsome Hour, you know that J Money and I were planning to go to this game at the beginning of the season. We were actually planning, hey, let's go, 4 or 5 games this year. We've got season tickets. Let's go 3 at home and maybe one or two on the road. Maybe the bucket game would be possible. Who knows? Things could be really fun. And then we went to the Notre Dame game, and then J Money turns to me and says, "Yeah, we're not going to Columbus, man." So that's at least J Money's got some more foresight here than I do. So, um, your Boilermakers lose 45-0 in a there were some moments of daylight early in the game, and then the second half happened, and then there's nothing. There's really nothing to go over. But I'm going to try to go through my notes anyway. Devin Mockabee was not put back in. There was no kind of accountability, and that really is frustrating, And again, this is a losing season. It's a losing season. It's a failure of a season. It's among the worst seasons in the last at least decade. Last 2 decades of Purdue football, at least in the in the running for one of the biggest failures of a season that you can imagine, at least in the modern day age of Purdue football. But that doesn't mean you can't make these Saturdays, enjoyable. And I think that's the frustrating part, right? This was not enjoyable to watch. The only thing that was fun was when Hudson Card was making quick decisions and watching Devin Mockabee. And there were players. Tibbs made a great, or Riggs made. Sorry, Riggs. I'm not watching Lethal Weapon here. Rigby made a phenomenal catch late in the game. I'd love to see more freshmen. This is the one thing that you can say is that there is some promising freshman talent on the roster, right? Maybe early sophomore with little playing time. Let's see them. Let's just see what happens, right? If Hudson is struggling, show some accountability and put Ryan Brown in earlier than the last play, the last series of the game. If Reggie Love fumbles, why are we featuring him in the first place? Devin Mockabee clearly showed why he should be the centerpiece of this offense, right? A lot of talk has been about Max Clare, but and again on that rollout in the end zone, the one time Purdue had a real chance to score the ball, or the first time I should say, but the second one was a pick in the end zone. But the one time Purdue had a chance, there was a rollout left. Card held on towards Max Clare. Card held on to the ball too long. had a shot at him early, and so everything that was designed for Purdue's only real proven receiving threat was just not creative enough. And Purdue's best offensive player in Devin Mockabee was sidelined for half of the game, and so it's just wholly uninspiring, and that is really all to say about from my notes here. Going into some of the stats, oh my gosh. Hudson Card, 9 for 19, 108 yards and an interception. That's not great, I'm being told. Mockabee and Reggie Love ended up with the same amount of carries, but Mockabee 5.6 yards per carry, while Reggie Love 2.5. Mockabee with 73 yards, really in like 2 quarters. Really, like that's all kind of he got. I'm pretty sure. Was he a receiving threat? Yeah, 2 receptions for 14 yards. Again, like get Devin Mockabee the ball in space. He is the bright spot of this offense. He has been the bright spot of this offense all year, and just not enough, I guess. Um, Jamal Edrin, 1 catch for 15 yards. There are a couple decent opportunities, but most of his chances were the very few long plays that Purdue drew up today, and there was no creativity here, and it was just counting on Edrin's measurables and his athletic ability to out athlete Ohio State cornerbacks, and that's not really putting him in a great spot. So again, we've had some frustrations with Edrin in the past couple of weeks. This week, I'm not frustrated. He was put in very, very bad spots, and 1 catch for 15 yards. Shamar Rigby again, that 1 catch for 29 yards. That's Purdue's leading receiver today. Shamar Rigby with that incredible kind of Randy Moss catch over the Ohio State's kind of second DB for 29 yards. That was it. Mockabee Claire, 2 receptions, 13 yards. Just not enough, man. Just not enough. Looking at, Ohio State, Will Howard, 21 for 26 for 260 yards and 3 touchdowns. Meanwhile, he also rushed 9 times for 1 for a touchdown, early that began the route. I mean, just a completely efficient game from Will Howard. Was rushed 8 was what's it called? Like hurried a few times, but for the most part, he was just completely under composure. He's a veteran quarterback and completely picked Purdue apart, right? Travion Henderson, 6 catches for 85 yards. Judkins, 11 catches for 32, or rushes for 32 yards. Meanwhile, Jeremiah Smith, just incredible. For Ohio State receiving Jeremiah Smith, incredible. 87 yards on 6 receptions, 1 touchdown. Carnell Tate, who just tore Purdue up the last time Ohio State and Purdue played. 56 yards on 6 receptions, just clinical. That's all this was. It was a clinical route, similar to the Oregon game where Ohio State didn't have to show anything. Oregon didn't have to show anything. They just kind of pounded Purdue into submission, counted on Purdue not being creative at all. And that's what Purdue kind of showed. And that's just really disappointing after 6 years of the Brom era, where we are very much used to at the very least, fun football, even if these Saturdays were similarly a little bit hopeless. So let's go to the comments here. Hey, guys, a lot of you are surprised that I'm here. And yeah, there are a few hiccups here. Cut me some slack. This is the first time. Relax. It's fine. Boiler Dowd is doing, he's being a rich and famous person in central Indiana. Meanwhile, J Money is logging in his backyard. Steve Azano says it gets more handsome every week. Exactly. Goes from a season of Boiler Dad to J Money now to me. So that's very great. People are confirming. Did I draw the short straw? I suppose so. I volunteered for this, so I shouldn't blame this on anyone else. Big Noon Saturday. That's right, Motor City Boiler. We're all here. Eventually I'll kind of go through the chat, but yes, include your basketball thoughts here as well. We're talking about some of the hobbies people like, a good old clean of the house, and some sweeping, again some log splitting, some gaming, some 3D printing. Mark Garrity doing some 3D printing instead of this. So sorry if the audio is a little bit rough today. We're still working out the kinks. Um, let's see. All right, we're gonna at least try this. Sorry about the audio problems there. Looking looking at some of the other comments, like dealing with Purdue football or basketball at least. Um, we're talking. Sorry about the instead of the audio issues. How is Daniel Jacobson? It's the worst, right? The one candidate, the one kind of fun thing that Purdue is, that Purdue uh, basketball kind of the new one of the new things that Purdue. Though were my favorite thing from Purdue basketball, my favorite new addition for Purdue basketball this year. Jacobson kind of goes out with a shin injury. I'm hope there's nothing, at least so far, that we've heard, but it's I think we'll see. Sorry guys, with in sorry in terms of the middle audio that wasn't great. I really don't like this split. So Mark Garrity's talking about Walters splitting carries between Love and uh, Maccabee. I really don't like it, especially on a day like today, when it seems like things were going Maccabee's way. So I don't know. I don't. Again, like it doesn't seem like this that this coaching staff has much consistency, let alone kind of answers to some of the things that we're talking about. Q Turner says, first quarter they played well, no points in the red zone. Coaching called the field goal team out, but the blocking does blocking for a statue isn't great. Yeah, I mean it's decision making. You have to put your players in the best position for success, right? And so we know that card this year. We're not coaches, but we can see. We have eyes. Coaches, they can obviously see that Hudson Card is really struggling when he is asked to go through progressions. So make it quick. Joe Tiller did this. Like that. This is the bubble screen joke about Joe Tiller offenses, right? It was always like the foundation of the offense was not 3 yards in a cloud of dust. It was a bubble screen. We always threw the bubble screens on the outside, and the reason is because it gets you moving fast. It gets you used to quick decisions. And when, it was 3-4 yards by bubble screens instead of a million yards that we were used to, 400 or 500 yard games by those quarterbacks, sometimes it would get a little bit jarring, or, it'd get a little bit boring. That being said, you move the ball when the offensive line is not doing well, right? That is one of the ways that you coach around a talent deficit, right? And that is what Purdue is facing, especially in the new Big Ten, especially as the Big Ten expands, with more and more kind of very, very good teams or more programs that on paper are much better than Purdue and put Purdue kind of even further into a talent hole. That means that you have to be more creative, you have to be more aggressive, and it can't be ball control offense in the way that we want to do it right now. I understand that Walters wants an aggressive defense and a ball control offense, but the way that we were doing it today, is not good. Looking through kind of more comments here. I mean, people are not happy, and I understand. Again, this is a small sample size because we are the extremely online people, and we'll see. We will be the ones most angry, but I don't know. Let's see. We should be talking about basketball. Who should play center? My answer is, if Jacobson isn't okay, it has to be Berg. And it does seem like so. There is the question, right? Early on in the season, in the first week, whether Berg
being on the bench in favor of Jacobson was Jacobson winning the position or Berg losing it. I think that Jacobson just was so good and all of the he has such natural footwork, such natural instincts for his lack of strength. He's a really good rebounder. I mean, and shot blocking is natural and actually much more natural than Zach Edey was, right? Zach Edey had natural hands in footwork, was natural with the ball in the post. Jacobson is very different. Jacobson is, I think, a painter in one of the post games was saying that he brought up Jawan Johnson as maybe Jacobson's like closest Purdue comparable, and I kind of like that because again, not seeing him Jacobson shoot jumpers yet. Jawan Johnson was a natural shot blocker, a natural runner, like he was a natural athlete. And he was a decent rebounder. I think Jacobson coming in is a better rebounder immediately than Johnson was. Johnson's probably a better shooter, right? But to me, that is the model that we should be going to. If Jacobson is not okay, I think it has to be Berg. Burgess seems to look good. I do like him. This is also clearly why his red shirt wasn't burned, and so. But to me, if Jacobson isn't available, it should be Berg. Let's see. A lot of people are not happy with the coaching hire. So looking at the comments, not great. Jacobson injury is from the knee to the shin. That's good. Shin injury is always better than a knee. I do want to kind of address like some of this. You get who you pay for from Jorge. I assume that this is uh, directed at Walters. We did a full coaching search, profile in our normal extensive coaching search profile in 2022, which when it was. There were some candidates on there if Purdue really wanted to break out the checkbook. That being said, Purdue was paying Jeff Brom what $5.5 million, every year, and was willing to match whatever Louisville brought by all accounts, but it seemed that it was pretty clear that he was gone. I don't think that and it does seem like by some of the interviews that it wasn't a money issue. Also, it's like Purdue got a buyout for from Louisville for Brom. It was pocket change compared to the amount of Big Ten money that comes in. But still, Purdue is not about. I think that the talk of Purdue being a cheap athletic department comes from 20 years or 15 years or however long it was of Morgan Burke and the past board of trustees, right? In this last era, it's pretty clear that Purdue will pay for hires. I don't think that I think that Ryan Walters was not Purdue being cheap. I do think that it was Purdue taking a lottery ticket on somebody that the whole country at this point said was a rising star in the coaching ranks, coached in the Big Ten, and apparently interviewed very well, and inspired a lot of confidence, not just from the athletic department or the board of trustees, but also from a lot of the players that committed to him for the first year and a half, right until now. It until these results, right? And it does seem to be falling apart. There are some athletic departments like Florida who are not just athletic departments under complete who have committed to their coach for the next year. Billy Napier is going back to Florida. It seems like they've done that not because they're comfortable with Billy Napier, but because there are three massive scandals, not just at the athletic department level, but at the university level at the University of Florida. Which is why it's like, yeah, we can't afford this. We aren't going to deal with this. That's not what we're doing right now. I think a lot of people that are calling for a change now at Purdue, there is minimal kind of or there's minimal upside here, So I don't know. To me, it seems like not you get what you pay for. It seems like a lottery ticket that just didn't pan out, and that's a bummer. It's a bummer. And so, to me, I think it's pretty obvious that it's going to last the year, it's going to last the season, and we'll see what happens after the IU game. A lot of people doing cleaning as their Saturday activity of choice instead of us. Um, we can, getting back to football and kind of to end this, we can talk about NIL. We can talk about disadvantages, the kicking situation. We can talk about kind of all of these things, but none of these are disadvantages that Purdue has never that is new to Purdue in the football landscape, right? All of these are things that have either been schemed around, have been recruited around, or have been addressed by these successful coaches, at Purdue. So it's not impossible here. The other thing is that expectations are not sky high here. That is another thing that the Handsomes have talked about. You like, 4 to 7 games in the range of 5 to 7 wins, 4 to 7 wins, let's say. Be fun, be a threat to teams like Ohio State and Oregon. Have at least one or two talents that are on the national stage. Purdue has done that until last year, and I think even some of these players this year are, first 3 round, NFL picks, maybe first 4 round NFL picks. We have that, but it's just a uninspiring brand of football, right? And I think that combined with non-competitiveness, that is all that we're asking for, and that is not what we're getting. And I do think that is really the only thing. And you can talk about NIL, you can talk about the budget for hiring a coach, you can talk about all of these disadvantages that Purdue has. In reality, these aren't sky high expectations, and they're not being met right now. There's no point to me in making a mid-season move, though I might be proven wrong, but there's no point in making a move before the Sunday after the IU game, because what does that do? It shuts us up in terms of the online mob. But Babinski can talk to the actual donors that make that keep Purdue football running, right? They behind the scenes. Babinski or a search firm can start to reach out to candidates without letting the public know. Season tickets don't really, between now in the next 3 weeks, aren't the end all be all, right? Season tickets will be fine if Purdue makes a decision 3 weeks from now. But the big thing is that the only move that can happen, or the only outcome that a mid-season firing can do with this staff that is not experienced, that can't handle a coaching change or a scheme change. It's not going to change the scheme. It's not going to change the decision making. And yes, it's a bad position, but that's a position that we put ourselves in, that Purdue has put themselves in. There is no real difference that it would make other than kind of shutting us up online and even that would shut us up for a week. And then once Purdue gets blown out again, it'll be, it's all she wrote, right? I mean, it'll be back to us being angry. So you might as well let Walters coach the season out and then make a decision the Sunday after the IU game. So that's all that I have. That's 30 minutes. That's all that I have. Sorry for the early mic difficulties, but I do think it fixed up within those first minutes. Thanks, everyone. Shout out to AJ's. Go eat there when you're on campus and sad and yell boiled and look at your mugs. Look at the bottom of your mugs for Purdue for Boiled Sports Magnets. Shout out to Home Field Apparel. Enter Boiled25 for 15% off your first order. We love you all. Thank you so much. We'll see you. I'm sure Boiler Dowd will do a quick cast between now and the Monday Handsome Hour. But Monday at 9 o'clock, we will be back talking about probably mostly Purdue basketball, if we're being real.